Hey everyone, it's Miles again. Welcome back to my studio. After my last video, I got a number of questions about the transition I made from software to art. Most people imagine them as completely separate worlds with no overlap, but I think the reality is a lot more complex than that. It really got me thinking about all the things I learned in my day job that have translated directly into my career in art. So this will be the first video in a series exploring those topics. If you're someone who's struggling to find meaning in your day job while pursuing a creative outlet that you hope will someday become the full-time gig, then maybe these videos can help you. But for now, let's head on over to the easel because I know you'd rather watch me paint than watch me talk. Today I want to start with the topic of time, and more specifically, how and why I learned to manage my time and treat it as the critical resource it is. As I mentioned in my last video, I went to work for a small software company when I was in my mid-20s. We worked directly with the customer in a service-focused business model, so we had to log all of our hours because that's how the company got paid, and therefore that's how we got paid as well. It was a bit tedious at first, but it actually grew on me pretty quickly because I had always had a secret obsession with the ticking of the clock anyway. Way back as a teenager, I remember the song Time by Pink Floyd striking a serious chord with me, even though it came out years before I was born. Maybe it's weird for someone so young to be concerned with the passage of time, but I was always fighting to stay up later, find more hours in the day, work on any number of self-created projects at night. So lyrics like, you run and you run to catch up with the sun, but it's sinking, racing around to come up behind you again, they just resonated with me. I mean, maybe a little bleak, but hey, I was a Gen X kid, so bleak was kind of our thing anyway. So the practice of tracking my hours for work just clicked with me. It became infused in my blood, and I just started to really enjoy it. Being able to see everything I had accomplished that week or that month staring me in the face was pretty cool. We were a small company with a bunch of engineers who were fully invested in all our shared success, so we wore our hours tracking like a badge of honor. We'd compare ourselves to our peers, see who made the most money, who worked the longest, and so on. After several years of doing it, it just became part of my identity. Many years later, after shifting from programmer to manager to director, I was told I no longer had to log my hours. It made sense since I was completely overhead by then. I wasn't billing customers. I was managing teams of people and projects and doing interviews, but I couldn't stop for a while. I just kept logging my hours anyway. It was like telling me I didn't need to eat or sleep. No way, of course I did. It was in my blood. Not coincidentally, this is right around the same time I started to rediscover my passion for art. I had left behind all the creativity that came with programming and moved to management, and I began to realize that it had just been a poor substitute for the real dream of pursuing my art career. I had just tucked it away for too long to recognize it at first. But with that realization came back the old enemy. Time came knocking again. Was I too old? Was I like the guy in the Pink Floyd song who missed the starting gun and let 10 years get behind him? Not to say that I regretted my day job, I actually enjoyed it quite a bit, but I also knew it wasn't where I wanted to be 10 or 20 years down the road. But still, I was working 45 plus hours a week in a pretty stressful job, so where would I find the time to dedicate to my art? Suddenly, that line from the movie Fight Club was ringing in my head. This is your life, and it's ending 1 minute at a time. So I decided it was time to take home the habit that I had learned in the office and start tracking my own personal time. I downloaded a simple app to my phone and began logging my significant blocks of hours. And let me tell you, it was one of the most eye-opening and best decisions I've ever made. I mean, think about it. If you want to change your nutrition or your weight, you start tracking what you eat. How many calories are going in? Am I getting enough protein? Am I eating too many carbs or fats? In order to manage your finances, you track your income and expenses. You group those things into categories to see if you're spending too much on entertainment or luxury items, or maybe you're trying to make sure you're putting enough away each paycheck for a retirement somewhere down the line. We track all of these things, and yet, for most of us, if we spend a few extra dollars here and there, we can find ways to earn that money back. Maybe we sell an unused possession, or do another side job, or ask a relative to borrow some cash or get a loan. But can you do that with time? There's no time bank that's going to loan us a couple extra years. Time is truly the only finite resource, and although most of us can list where we spend every dollar, and many of us count our calories, we have no idea where we're spending our most critical resource. So what I learned from years of logging my hours at work was just how powerful it can be, and it was time to apply that power to my own life so I could take control of where I was investing my time. I started doing it many years ago, and I'm still doing it to this day. So that's the backstory, but I know you want some specifics. So how do I track time? Well, that's the easy part. I just downloaded an app. The one I use is called A Time Logger, but that's just because it was the first one I downloaded years ago. It was convenient, simple to use, and easy to switch back and forth between activities. There may be other better apps out there today, so feel free to look around, but that one works for me, so I just keep using it. What do I track? Well, I want to know what I've done at a high level, and I don't want to waste time tracking time because that would be counterproductive. In order to start a new habit, it needs to be easy, especially at the beginning. I simply created a few major categories with a couple subcategories under them. For instance, one of the categories is art, and under that header I have admin, skills development, client projects, and personal projects. I have a category for exercise, one for general household stuff like when I'm cooking or cleaning or whatever, and one for rest and relaxation because the point of time tracking isn't to work yourself to death. In fact, sometimes the thing you need to correct is that you aren't giving yourself enough time to breathe and wind down. I don't waste time flipping the category every time I walk in and out of a room either. If I spent the morning working on admin for my art business, then that's what I log it to, whether I took a 20-minute break in the middle or not. This isn't about creating a tedious chore for yourself. It's about seeing large trends over time. So, now that you know how I track it and what I track, how does it help me specifically? Well, the most immediately noticeable thing it did was to bring my decision making to the forefront. When I clicked that button to say I was about to relax and play video games for the evening, that choice was no longer something that just happened to me because I sat down on the couch and one thing led to another. I was consciously choosing to prioritize rest and relaxation that evening. Maybe that was the right choice that night, maybe it wasn't, but the point is I was becoming aware of those choices. And just like when you track your money or your calories, you often find yourself making more good choices simply through that awareness. The second thing it did was to hold me accountable to my long-term plan and priorities. I knew I had a far-off goal, and to get there I needed to make sure I was prioritizing the daily or weekly time investments that I needed to make that happen. Just like an exercise routine or saving for retirement, I wasn't going to be able to measure significant change on a daily basis. I wouldn't be able to draw for an hour one day and suddenly produce better art. Results would only occur gradually over time if I showed up and put in the work on a regular schedule. So tracking my time allowed me to review my investment of time over the weeks, months, and years and compare that to the goals I was setting for that investment. The third thing it allowed me to see was where I was wasting time. If I wasn't hitting my goals, I could now see where I had been investing or wasting that time instead. Was I inadvertently casting a vote for the wrong priorities in my life? It let me see how I could trim the fat elsewhere to create a time investment model that would put me in the best possible position to be the person I wanted to be 5 years down the line. Today, I still use it for all of those reasons I've already mentioned, but as a full-time freelance artist, I also use it to understand where my only employee's time is being spent. That's me. For instance, having an online presence is important, but am I spending too much time on admin? Am I not investing enough time in personal projects or skills development? Every now and then I'll review it and change the rough time allocations I'm targeting to match changes in my business goals, which are also constantly evolving as I get more experience and learn more. How many times have you heard someone say, "I wish I could draw," or "I wish I could paint," or even, "I wish I could learn a foreign language"? The fact of the matter is, in most cases, they probably could. It's just not easy, and it's going to take a hefty time investment. But how do you reallocate that time to something you've decided is a priority if you don't know where it's going in the first place? That was what I was struggling with, and bringing home the habit of time tracking that I learned in my day job really helped me sort that out in my personal life. It helped me hold myself accountable to the person I wanted to be 5 years down the road and beyond. Maybe it can help you in the same way. We'll wrap up the discussion there, but please feel free to leave a comment below if you have any tips and tricks that you use for time management. Also, while you're at it, please like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out so that I can bring more content to you on a regular basis. Until next time, keep creating. They're probably capable of, not capable of saying the word capable apparently, and bringing home the habit of time trapping. Let's trap that time in a bubble. Okay. But how do you reallocate? I need to reallocate some brain cells to my mouth so that I can speak. How do you reallocate that time? Tat time? Tat time. Tat, 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 tat time. Or if you have any tips or tricks that you use for speaking. God, I was so close. Oh, I was so close that time. Take 117. Go. And another.